everyone, 5 seconds. That's all it takes to change your life. 5 seconds between success and regret. 5 seconds between taking action or staying stuck. 5 seconds between who you are now and who you could become. You see, your brain has one mission: to protect you. Every moment we hesitate, we invite doubt, fear, and excuses to take over our decisions. The truth is, most of the time, we know exactly what we need to do, whether it's getting out of bed early, starting a workout, speaking up in a meeting, or taking that first step toward a dream we've held in our hearts. But in those few seconds between thought and action, our minds begin to talk us out of it. That's where the power of the 5-second rule comes in. When you feel that spark, that inner nudge pushing you to act, you count down from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you move. You don't negotiate with yourself. You don't allow the fear to creep in. You don't let the anxiety take hold. That 5-second countdown creates a space where your brain is interrupted, and instead of spiraling into overthinking, you shift into action. This technique is so powerful because it's rooted in something simple and primal: urgency. The countdown gives your body the command to go before your brain tries to stop you. It builds a habit loop where action becomes your new default. You start to train your mind to trust movement over hesitation. Every time you count down and take action, you build mental strength. You prove to yourself that you are capable of making decisions, of pushing through discomfort, of taking charge of your behavior. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. You begin to trust your instincts instead of silencing them. You start to become the kind of person who takes action in the moment, not tomorrow, not later, not when it's perfect, but now. That's how transformation begins. Not in huge life overhauls, but in those 5 seconds when you choose courage over comfort. You might think 5 seconds is nothing, but it holds the power to change everything. One action leads to another. One small movement builds momentum, and momentum leads to habits. Habits create identity, and identity shapes your destiny. It all starts with 5 seconds of bravery, 5 seconds of decision, 5 seconds where your life can take a new direction. Use them wisely, because 5 seconds might not seem like a lot until they become the reason you finally did what you were born to do. The human brain is a powerful survival machine, and its number one job is to keep us safe, not to help us grow. This is why it constantly pulls us toward comfort, familiarity, and what feels secure. It's not because we're lazy or unmotivated, but because our brain is designed to avoid risk, pain, and uncertainty. Every time you try to do something new, challenging, or uncomfortable, your brain sees it as a threat. It activates the fear response, even if there's no real danger, just emotional or psychological discomfort. This is why we often talk ourselves out of opportunities. We rationalize reasons not to act, not to speak, not to step forward. It's your brain trying to protect you from embarrassment, rejection, failure, or the unknown. But in doing so, it also protects you from growth, change, and success. When you understand that this is your brain's default setting, you can start to take control of it. The 5-second rule is a tool that helps you override this safety mechanism. When you count down and act before the mental chatter begins, you disrupt the loop that leads to avoidance. Instead of letting fear make the decision, you shift into your higher self, the part of you that wants more, dreams bigger, and knows there's more to life than comfort. Growth doesn't happen when you feel safe. Growth happens when you step into discomfort with courage. But you won't feel ready. You won't feel fearless. That's okay. Your job isn't to eliminate fear, it's to move with it, through it, despite it. That's what the countdown is for. It gives you a chance to move while the brain is still catching up. Over time, this retrains your mind. You begin to prove to yourself that the fear is a signal, not a stop sign. You begin to realize that most of what your brain tries to protect you from isn't real danger, it's just resistance. And every time you override that resistance, you chip away at the belief that comfort is where you belong. You don't need a fearless brain, you need a trained brain. A mind that responds to challenges with action, not avoidance. That begins with awareness. The more you recognize the moments your brain is pulling you backward, the more chances you have to take back control. You are not your thoughts, you are not your hesitation, you are the one who decides whether you listen or lead. The 5-second rule doesn't erase fear, but it gives you power over it. And with practice, the part of your brain that seeks growth will become louder than the part that seeks safety. One of the biggest myths we believe is that we need to feel motivated in order to take action. We wait for inspiration, for energy, for the perfect moment when everything feels right. But the truth is, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It depends on mood, circumstances, and external factors that are out of our control. If we only act when we feel like it, we'll spend most of our lives stuck in place, watching others move forward while we wait for the spark to return. This is why the 5-second rule is so powerful. It teaches you that you don't need to feel motivated to act, you just need to act. When you count down from 5 and move, you bypass the need for motivation. You stop waiting for the right emotion and take control of your behavior. This shift changes everything because it puts you in charge. It tells your brain, I'm doing this no matter how I feel. The moment you take action, even if it's small, you trigger a chain reaction. Movement leads to momentum, and momentum creates energy. That energy becomes the motivation you were waiting for. In other words, motivation doesn't lead to action, action leads to motivation. Every time you push yourself to move before you're ready, you reinforce a powerful identity. You become someone who follows through, someone who gets things done, someone who doesn't make excuses. Over time, this becomes who you are, not just what you do. The 5-second rule gives you a practical way to break the habit of hesitation and the addiction to comfort. It gives you a strategy to move when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, anxious, insecure, or afraid. And what's amazing is that the action doesn't even need to be big. You don't need to run a marathon or write a book today. You just need to take the first step, wake up with your alarm, open the document, send the email, step into the gym, say the hard thing. The more you do this, the more you learn that feelings are not facts, they're just temporary states. You can feel unmotivated and still do the thing. You can feel nervous and still show up. You can feel tired and still take that one brave step forward. This is the mindset of high achievers. They don't wait to feel like doing the work, they do the work and let the feeling catch up later. The 5-second rule gives you the edge because it teaches you to move without waiting. And once you stop depending on motivation, you unlock consistency. And consistency is what builds results, habits, confidence, and success. Confidence is not something you are born with, it's something you build, one action at a time. Most people believe that confident people are simply fearless, naturally bold, or always sure of themselves. But that's a myth. Confidence isn't about being certain. It's about being willing to try even when you're uncertain. It's about showing up, speaking up, and standing tall in the face of fear or doubt. And the only way to build that kind of confidence is through repeated action. This is where the 5-second rule becomes your secret weapon. When you count down and take action, especially when you're scared or unsure, you send a message to yourself, I can trust me. That trust is the root of confidence. Every time you push yourself out of hesitation and into motion, even in small ways, you prove that you are capable. You begin to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself, the one that says you're not ready, not good enough, or not strong enough. That inner critic loses power because your actions begin to speak louder than your doubts. Real confidence doesn't come from standing in front of a mirror and reciting affirmations. It comes from doing hard things, from being courageous when it's easier to stay silent or safe. It grows when you make that call, speak in that room, go to that interview, say no when it matters, or say yes to opportunities that scare you. Each time you act in spite of fear, your confidence muscle grows stronger. And like any muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. The beauty of the 5-second rule is that it gives you a structure, a mental trigger to help you override the fear and act anyway. You don't need to feel brave to take a brave action. You just need to count 5-4-3-2-1 and go. In that moment, courage shows up and confidence begins to form. Over time, these moments stack. They create a foundation of self-trust. You begin to believe in your ability to figure things out. You begin to expect yourself to rise to the occasion, and with that belief, your posture changes, your voice gets stronger, your energy shifts, people notice, opportunities come, but more importantly, you notice. You feel different. You start to feel proud of who you are becoming, not because you're perfect or fearless, but because you're someone who moves despite fear. That's real confidence, and it's available to anyone willing to take that first small, scary step. All it takes is 5 seconds. Procrastination is not a time problem, it's a habit. It's a deeply ingrained response to discomfort, uncertainty, or fear. When we procrastinate, we're not avoiding the task itself, but the emotions attached to it: fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. Over time, putting things off becomes automatic. We delay taking action not because we lack the ability, but because our brain has learned that avoidance brings temporary relief. That relief becomes addictive, and the cycle repeats. The longer we stay in this loop, the harder it becomes to break free. But just as procrastination is a habit, so is action, and that's where the 5-second rule comes in. When you use the countdown 5-4-3-2-1, you interrupt the procrastination pattern. You create a moment of control, a mental shift that breaks the autopilot response of delay. That small window of decision gives you the power to override the excuses, the hesitation, the fear. It's not about forcing yourself to finish everything at once. It's about taking the first step. Once you take that first step, you activate momentum. And momentum is powerful. It creates energy, focus, and clarity. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What felt impossible becomes doable. The 5-second rule teaches you to stop negotiating with your mind. The moment your instincts tell you to start, whether it's to sit down and write, go for a run, clean your space, make the call, you count down and move. No thinking, no second guessing, no delay, just action. And the more you repeat this, the more you train your brain to respond differently. You create a new habit loop. Instead of avoidance, you default to movement. Action becomes your new normal. With each small win, your confidence builds. You begin to trust yourself to follow through, to show up, to take charge, and that self-trust reinforces the habit of taking action. The key is consistency. You won't eliminate procrastination overnight, but every time you choose action over avoidance, you weaken the grip of the old habit. Over time, you become the kind of person who doesn't wait for perfect conditions, who doesn't let fear control their choices, who doesn't stay stuck. You become someone who acts. That identity shift changes everything: your productivity, your goals, your relationships, your sense of self. Procrastination loses its power when you realize that the solution is simple, accessible, and always in your hands. It starts with 5 seconds of courage, 5 seconds to change your pattern, 5 seconds to take back your time, your focus, and your future. Every single day, we are faced with decisions, some small, some life-changing. And what most people don't realize is that you are always just one decision away from a completely different life. That's the heart of what Mel Robbins teaches through the 5-second rule. In just one moment of courage, one moment of pushing past your hesitation, everything can shift. That decision might be to walk into a room with confidence, to pick up the phone and make a call you've been avoiding, to say yes to a new opportunity, or to say no to something that no longer serves you. It doesn't have to be huge, but it does have to be now. That's what makes the 5-second rule so powerful. It gives you the tool to act on those life-altering decisions before your brain has the chance to talk you out of them. Because the truth is, your dreams, your growth, your purpose, they all live on the other side of hesitation. And hesitation only needs a few seconds to steal your future. That's why when your heart speaks, when your instincts whisper go, you must act. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. That one movement could change everything. It could be the reason you start a business, meet the love of your life, heal a relationship, or take back your health. These decisions don't always feel dramatic at the time. Often, they seem ordinary, like waking up on time, walking into the gym, or choosing to speak instead of staying silent. But those small, brave choices build on each other. They shift your mindset, they shape your identity, they redefine what's possible. The life you dream about isn't waiting for some magical day in the future, it's waiting for a moment of courage today. A decision you make now, a door you open instead of walking past, a risk you take, even while shaking. People spend years stuck in the same place because they keep postponing those decisions. They keep listening to fear. But the 5-second rule breaks that cycle. It teaches you that action is always within reach, that you don't need to be fearless, just willing to try, willing to leap, willing to believe in yourself even for 5 seconds. And the beauty of it is that it's available to everyone. You don't need money, status, or special talent, just the decision to act. One decision can rewrite your story. One decision can shift your path. One decision can wake up the powerful, unstoppable version of you that's been waiting to be unleashed. Count it down, take the step. Your new life is 5 seconds away. Conclusion: the power to change your life doesn't lie in massive plans, endless motivation, or perfect timing. It lies in the simple, everyday decisions you make. Mel Robbins' 5-second rule is a tool that reminds you that action, not intention, creates transformation. When you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and move, you silence fear, override doubt, and step into the person you're meant to be. Whether it's speaking up, starting something new, or breaking an old habit, everything begins with that first step taken before your brain has time to hold you back. Confidence, success, and personal growth are built one brave choice at a time. So the next time you feel that inner nudge, don't hesitate. Trust yourself, count it down, and go, because you're never more than 5 seconds away from a completely different life.